I felt impotent and out of control, which I really hate. I needed to find sanctuary in a place where I could gather my thoughts and regain my strength.
Some say blame Amazon.com. A major mall in LA is going away. Most of the Westside Pavilion that stretches a couple of blocks along West Pico Boulevard will close soon. KCAL9's Lori Perez is live to tell us what the new owners are planning for that spot. Lori.
Elsa, the writing has been on the wall here for a while. Last year, anchor store Nordstrom's left. The other anchor, Macy's, is set to close this year. Now developers will totally rework the space.
I remember we were there a lot, and then, over time, we kind of grew out of it.
So goes the story for the Westside Pavilion Mall. On this Monday night, nary a shopper could be seen inside. Once bustling, locals like Vicki Lonberg say.
Recently, I went in there and it was like a ghost town.
So it's really no surprise to her or her friend, across the street business owner Delfino Chaholan, that the 32-year-old mall is closing. In 7 months here, he says the only thing the mall has shared with his custom-designed T-shirt shop is a zip code.
I think that the mall is it's been slow there, that it hasn't really done anything for the shops. Most of the people that we do get in here are not because of the mall, they're more because of the restaurants and all the bars that are coming through.
He hopes whatever goes into the Pico Boulevard site only increases that foot traffic. Hudson Pacific Properties in Brentwood and Mace Ridge Company of Santa Monica announced Monday they'll transform most of it, 500,000 square feet, into creative office space. This part, 100,000 square feet, where this urban home store, landmark cinema, and a restaurant are now housed, will remain. Developers say they expect to complete construction by mid-2021. A date and a change Lonberg and Chaholan will be watching.
If the offices that move in there are like creative, like techie, startups, then I feel like it could change the shape of the neighborhood.
It's not only online retailers taking business away from here, it's also the challenge here has been competing with newer malls like Santa Monica Place and Westfield Century City, which are both not far from here. There is no date yet on when this mall might close. Back to you.
Lori Perez reporting live for us tonight in West LA.
Hi everyone, welcome to another adventure from Wayfarer Pictures. Today we are checking out the Westside Pavilion in Los Angeles, California. This one's near and dear to my heart. This was one of my childhood malls. I grew up in LA and found myself back in town recently for a wedding, so we decided to drive by and check it out. We didn't even know if we'd be able to get into this mall, but luckily it's still open, but there's not a lot going on here. So come along with us. We're going to drive in and come check it out with us.
It was just turning into fighting and spinning around. You're gonna make people vomit. Yeah, this is what I remember. Hook the left. Rooftop Park.
Try that.
Right there, my friend.
See
seatbelt malfunction. Yeah. This is what I remember as a child.
There's people up here.
Yeah, there
These
is.
things roll their asses all the way up here too.
Ooh, look at that. This elevator, look at this vintage. This is OG Westside Pavilion. The fires as the rest of LA burns down.
We're in a giant concrete structure.
Yeah.
This is the entrance we're gonna take here.
Yeah, this is where I used to park when I was a kid. Go park where those guys are.
Where the cars are parked.
Yeah. Let's go see. I'm gonna take some stills.
Wow, let's not do that again. The rotting infrastructure that's up here, let's not touch it as much as possible. If we can even like get in the door here. Yeah, it looks like it's open. Yeah, just kind of walk through. Oh, it's hot in here. Glad I didn't wear my sweater. I'm gonna scope it. I got they're on.
You're playing Milky Chance.
No way. This section of this section has a lot of stuff in it, actually.
Not much. This is pretty dead. This place was jumping when I was a kid.
I bet.
So you say this was your childhood mall. What can you tell me about it?
Well, I grew up on the west side of LA. We moved to the Valley, which is another part of LA, later on towards the end of the 90s. But when I was a kid, we definitely spent a lot of time here, and between this one and some of the other LA malls, which are doing much better than this one right now.
Yeah, isn't there a lot of malls in Southern California?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course in Southern California, but just in the West LA area in general. I mean, you've got Century City, you've got Fox Hills, which I think has a different name now. You've got Santa Monica. There's just a million different malls in the area, and this was just one more shoehorned in the 80s mall, craziness.
So, do you remember any of the stores you would go to specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. You saw from the footage that we parked on the roof, that was pretty typical for us because one of the big things that I remember coming to this mall for all the time was shoes. There was a shoe store called Stride Right Shoes for kids, and it was actually right here where you're seeing on the video. And I remember that we would come in, park on the top, come down one level, go to the shoe store, and it had like a little carousel in it and everything. My mom would get me shoes. And when we were all done, we would just walk across the way here and go to the food court, and maybe we'd get like a, soda or a, hot dog or something. Plus you can kind of see right there, and we'll come up closer to it, that there were kids rides over there. And when you're 5 years old, that seems really exciting.
This mall has changed a lot in the multiple remodels that's gone on over the years, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, you can see from some of the pictures that we've put in here that there was definitely a lot more color going in the mall. There was, you could have your neon everywhere.
Yeah, it seems they tore out the neon in this section over here. You can see there's some plants that are up in the rafters. That's where the neon lights used to be.
Absolutely. That was like the little tree house, fun area for kids up there. And I would go up there and play. My grandma would sit in those tables down there and have a black coffee and read the newspaper.
Everything in this food court has been whited out.
Yeah, it's really boring. And I mean, I remember this just being so much more animated, and they were bigger on the like sandstone colored tile, more browns, more colors, just not all white.
Yeah, there's little brown steps that are everywhere through this mall. There's multiple levels that you'll see everywhere.
Yeah, this mall right for the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, which happened in 1990. And so, like, this ramp you see right here had to be put in right about a couple years after they opened. They had to make a lot of little accommodations everywhere because they didn't quite think of those things when they built this mall.
As we get closer to this sign, you can see that there's no anchors that are labeled on any of the signs. They used to point you in either direction towards one of the major stores, and now they're all just blank.
Yeah, I think the one we're coming up closer on here, you'll see as we get a little closer, or actually you won't because it's really hard to see, but it said Robinson's May, which was one of the anchors that used to be in this mall. It was actually the May Company originally, and then in the early 90s, J.W. Robinson's and May Company, which were two Southern California department stores, merged together and became Robinson's May. And then later on, Macy's ended up taking over all of those, and so everything just became a Macy's.
These Venetian tiles are part of the original design of the mall. They were supposed to invoke a Parisian, Venetian, street-side feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. This whole thing was supposed to feel like a road, like a street outside, like a bunch of shops facing inside, and that's why you see these big windows overhead. And they used to have all the little signs for all the stores, and you can see it in some of the older pictures, that would come out into the middle, so it literally looked like you were walking down a road. And it's so funny that they had this like climate-controlled, perfect temperature indoor shopping street in Los Angeles, which has pretty good weather all year round.
I really love this big glass wall here. It makes the building feel a lot bigger than it actually is.
Well, actually, that's not even a big glass wall. I mean, it is, but this is actually the Nordstrom, or what used to be the Nordstrom, and this was the only way to get across to the additional part of the mall, which was called Westside Too, T-O-O, and it was opened in 1991, and the only way you could access it was that bridge that you saw going across the street, and the only way you could access that bridge was by walking through the Nordstrom. When the Nordstrom closed in 2017, they put up these walls, apparently, because, again, the only way to get across there is to go through the Nordstrom, so you have to walk through, but they don't want you to see the rest of the ugly, dead Nordstrom, so this is their compromise.
Yeah, it was a hoot walking through this entire store that's completely dead, and you just walk through these hallways, and there's a random door in the hall that you could access all this empty space behind. It was really cool to just see this serene, dead store that they created a walkway from.
Yeah, and then so this used to drive more traffic through the Nordstrom when the Nordstrom was still open. And, ooh, look at that damage up there. That's not pretty. And then so this door opens from the Nordstrom into the bridge. What we're going to walk into right here is the bridge across Westwood. Yeah, across Westwood. There's a side-by-side shot. Note the Junior's Deli, one of my favorites. I'm very sad it's closed.
You can see the Woolsey Fire smoke peeking out again as we get around into the other side of Westwood Too. The Landmark Cinema was added later into this building.
Well, and what's funny is the doorway that we're about to walk through right here actually used to open to the outside. This whole thing used to open into a big outdoor mall. That was what Westside Too was. And this urban home that you see on the right actually was a Barnes & Noble for a really long time. This Westside Too was popular in the very beginning, maybe the first couple of years, but it really never took off. Nobody ever really patronized it, and it actually spent most of the time I remember it, which, I mean, here's a picture of it, empty. I mean, there was that was a dead mall back in the 90s.
But it looks so cool.
But again, I mean, it's LA, and you have such better outdoor malls. You have 3rd Street Promenade, you have Century City. There's way better things out there. I mean, it's not great on a day like this where there's fire. Maybe be a little more thankful for the air conditioning on days like this. But, you know, even the movie theater looks like it's having a hard time.
Yeah, this whole mall looked pretty sad with label scar from top to bottom everywhere just because almost half of the mall is closed.
More than half, I think, at this point. So we work our way back through the closed Nordstrom. These tiles caught my eye. These look like they were done in maybe the mid-90s, I think, when they opened up that Westside Too. And it makes me laugh because I would have been probably old enough to have done one of those tiles. And now those tiles just sit here. I wonder if the kids, now adults, ever remember those tiles that they made in the mall.
I would totally want to come back and harvest it out of the floor. I think that would be really neat. What are they going to do with it anyway?
Well, good luck to them trying to make contact to get those tiles back. Oh, I think coming up here on the right, you're going to be able to see some of the old signage from the Nordstrom. I think legwear will be featured.
We're coming down the escalator from the 3rd floor to the 2nd floor over by the Sweet Anime Shop on the end of the mall by the Nordstrom. After we had already done the lap of the 3rd floor, I just can't get over how big this mall is.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a cavernous space, and it really shows how dead it is when you see how long these hallways are and just how far this space goes.
Yeah, this entire hallway was pretty empty on the right side, but pretty full on the left side, so I didn't point my camera over there too much. We're about to pass a business that I thought was fake, the bring your kid to a recording studio in the mall so that they can record a music video or a song.
That sounds fake to you? That sounds perfectly LA to me.
It sounds like that episode of Doug where he records banging on a trash can and mixes his tape up with Patty.
Stay tuned to the end where you can see our version of banging on a trash can. Just kidding.
We teleported down to the other end of the mall by the Lane Bryant so that you could see all these sweet escalators and all the different levels. What did this space used to be?
This was, well, the Macy's, and then before that, the Robinsons May, and then originally when the mall opened in 1985, this was the May Company. And I love this because you can see some of the old tile work and the original tile work from when this mall originally opened. The browns, like I said, the sandy colors, it wasn't all whitewashed like you see now.
Yo, dog, I heard you like some escalators. So I put some escalators near your escalators, near your escalators.
You joke, but this was one of my favorite parts of this mall when I was a kid. I loved going up and down all these little escalators. My grandma, not so much.
It's such a useless escalator for less than 10 feet up and down.
But you can't argue that there are not enough escalators.
There's definitely adequate escalator coverage. So we'll take this escalator down to the 1st floor and go see probably what is the most empty part of the mall, where they're going to do the most renovation, I think, when they gut it out and make offices out of it.
Yeah, this mall, if you saw the news clip in the very beginning, by 2021, most of this mall is going to become office space, which is what happened to the Sherman Oaks Galleria over in the Valley, another famous movie mall.
Yeah, wasn't this mall in Clueless?
Well, The exterior of this mall was in Clueless, as you saw at the beginning of our video, but the interior was actually shot at Fashion Square Mall, another mall in the valley that was really damaged by the earthquake.
I love seeing this dead space in here. You don't see too many empty storefronts that they actually let you peek into.
They probably ran out of covers because they had so many other ones to cover up.
No, they're not putting in a new skylight. That's just to keep water from dripping on people's heads as they come in from the parking lot.
Yeah, we weren't joking when they said that they have the original still up. That's the original ceiling, and it looks like it's having problems.
It's definitely seen better days. I had to get in real tight on this stonework. The marble here is just great.
They did a pretty good job of getting most of the label scar off, but they left this one here, which I'm pretty sure is an original sign from when it was the May Company. Another interesting thing about this mall is that it has street entrances, which is pretty rare for a modern-day mall. This exit actually goes out onto Pico.
Here's one of the only kiosks that you'll see until we get to the other end of the mall, too. I think they had them all collected up so that they could have as much open floor space as possible.
Yeah, you can see in that picture that we just showed that there definitely used to be a lot more going on the floor here, and now it's just barren. Something you see a lot in West LA malls too is the paid parking, and then also using free parking as an incentive to get you to come into the mall. This mall used to offer maybe 1 hour free parking, and I remember racing with my grandma around the mall looking for somebody that would validate our parking ticket so that she wouldn't have to pay on the way out.
And now with 3 hours free, you couldn't pay me to stay in the mall that long. Down this end of the mall, we passed a very interesting furniture store.
Looks pretty typical for LA. They have some wacky stuff in their houses.
And then we get to see the couple of chairs in the nook by the other street entrance. And now we're down by the end of the mall by the Nordstrom.
As we pass these final shuttered stores, we've pretty much reached the end of Westside Pavilion. You've seen all 3 levels, so it's time for us to head on back up to the roof. As we start to make our way to the exit, I just want to show you too that there used to be even more rooftop parking up here. Right where you see these chains is where you could drive across and park on top of Westside Too, the other part of the mall. Now that that part's pretty dead, they've pretty much restricted you just to this part.
It must have been so tight and so crazy to drive around up here. It's so empty right now. What was it like at Christmas time when you were a kid?
Oh my goodness. I mean, we didn't just park on the roof because of the convenience. We parked on the roof a lot of the time because that was one of the only places you could find a space. This mall used to be packed, especially at Christmas time. That was one of the promises to the residents when that they would make permit parking only to keep people from filling up the neighborhoods. Right here is one of my favorite parts of the mall. I know I've said a lot, but I have a lot of favorite parts. The descent from the rooftop parking lot. Hold on.
Yeah, strap in, because here we go. I know it looks like I Fast and Furious Tokyo drifted my way down the mall, but it is more harrowing than it seems.
And you're not even out of the mall yet. There's still more parking structure to go through. Well, that pretty much wraps up Westside Pavilion. I don't think I'm going to get to see this mall again in its current state, so I'm going to consider this a fond farewell. Thanks for watching our video, and stay tuned for more.